Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Mark Marquette. We're so glad you're with us to stay curious today with a very special guest, Ginger Chen. Welcome, Ginger.
Thank you, Mark.
We're glad to have you here. We've got some lightning going on. Thank you all for letting us go on late here. A little bit of weather going on, but we've got through all that. Ginger is going to have a very special program. She's a doctorate candidate, as you see there, at Florida Institute of Technology, about 40 miles south of us here at the American Space Museum in beautiful downtown and rainy Titusville. And Ginger, welcome. Uh, uh, you are a doctorate candidate, and your thesis is specifically what?
Thanks for having me again, Mark. I research on human beings' memory. Well, specifically for this stage, astronauts' memory, cognitive mapping in their decision making in terms of three factors: timing, context, and human.
Well, you're going to learn a lot from this smart lady, and you all know I love surrounding myself with people smarter than me. That's why I have Marty Winkle on the show every day. Hi, Marty. How you doing, buddy?
I'm okay, Mark. I'm trying to catch my breath.
Yes, exactly. When we prepared this show almost this afternoon, and of course, they're better when I just show up and sit down in a way. Not that this is not going to be this is going to be a great show. You're going to learn about how astronauts think, how she thinks astronauts think. And Ginger is telling me off air that her research shows that astronauts may be born with the right stuff and not acquired traits. She's got some. It's going to kind of look complicated to me, maybe not to you, but she'll make it look simple on here. But Ginger, you know, we got some great fans out there. Stay curious in our 5 years, and I'm sure they'll keep along with us. And if you've got some questions to Ginger Chen about cognitive mapping in her research, such as what are specific strategies astronauts use when encountering major career pivots or failures that they learn from others? She's going to tell us about that. How does the mindset of an astronaut differ from that of other high achieving professionals when it comes to lifelong learning? All right. So hidden in her smart brain of her doctorate stuff in there is some very useful things to understand about. Well, we've had 633 humans orbit the Earth since 1961, and over 350 of them American astronauts. So that's the kind of stuff we're going to talk about. But first, as always, I love asking my guests, where did you grow up? How did you get interested in space? And what's your life like today? So tell us a little about yourself, Ginger.
All right, Mark. Before I answer your questions, please allow me to make an official clarification. I'm not smart at all, especially in front of your 5 year audience here and all those experts in space industry. I'm the dumbest and the stupidest, probably. I am the most innocent and probably so far the youngest. I'm sure I'm the most innocent at least in this industry. So
Well, that's good. You have a
please
bright future, I can tell already. And she
please
lives nearby. And I promise, Ginger, this will not be her only appearance on Stay Curious. We're going to crack the ice about what she's learned about the brains and thinking and processing of information and rejection and triumphs of astronauts that go through a gamut, probably unlike a lot of any of us, right? So tell us where you grew up.
actually oh, by the way, the weather treats me very well today. I like it.
Oh, good.
Yeah, sunshine and drizzling. I like it.
Okay.
And also I was born and grew up in Inner Mongolia, China. The city is called Chifeng, so Genghis Khan's army
Oh, really?
went
Okay.
back to. That's my hometown. If you have you ever been to Colorado?
Yes, ma'am, I have. Yes.
Okay, if you remember the main color of the geography, what would you say? The color of the ground, the dirt.
Uh, well, it's green and a lot of a lot of vegetation in the
Veg-
mountains. So I
Colorado?
think,
You
yeah.
think so? How about the rocks, the mountain?
Well, the
What do
mountains and the rocks, gray, browns.
and the Arizona area, those
Yeah,
two. I think they are more, I don't know why, but for me, you see how our cognitive mapping is different.
yes,
For you, your cognitive mapping is telling you it's green, it's gray, or the vegetation, right?
right.
I think I don't want to make it a gender difference here, but for sure, this is at least a first individual difference. You can tell for your brain, it tells you those colors. But for me, those colors are just like my Taui.
Okay.
It's quite reddish orange, or what do you call this color?
Very kind of almost pink red. Yeah,
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 right?
in there.
Yeah.
But wait a minute, I agree with you because if you would have asked me that question, I would have told you reds and oranges.
Thank you, Marty.
There you go.
Yeah, high five.
And what I think
All
about
our audience,
Colorado,
if you
what
think Colorado is red or orange, hey, we got it.
well, I think gold, like the aspens. When I've been there in the fall, the aspens are
Mhm.
just gorgeous everywhere. Of course, the gold of
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
But so I think we're off to a good start. You get a little bit about what we're going to talk about here. Where do you live now?
Now I live in Palm Bay, actually.
Hmm.
Yes, very close to Florida Tech campus.
Good. Well, as I said, we'll have you back. We have got one of the most iconic images, and forever, Ed White will be spacewalking in my mind, as today, June 3rd, is 60 years since this great man voyaged into outer space for the first time by an American. We know Alexei Leonov did that about a month and a half before he did, but this was a much better experience. And Jim McDivitt making these iconic pictures. And so that's what we celebrate, Ginger, is space history and never to be forgotten. This great man, Ed White, who lost his life in the Apollo 1 fire. But this was one of the moments of my baby boomer life that I remember. You know, a man actually went outside of a spacecraft and floated around out there. So that's why we threw that in there for you today. But you meet astronauts. You've been meeting astronauts as part of this dissertation for several years, correct? And this is Rhea Seddon.
She is. She
Yeah.
is, Mark. I have to tell you, okay, I was not several years,
Okay.
I'm not that old, but
Okay.
this research was inspired by the president of Mars Society, Dr. Robert Zubrin, if you happen to know him, an
Yes.
expert in
Got his book around here. One of his books, I think.
Yeah,
Zubin's book here on.
yeah,
Yeah.
Zubrin. Yes, I met him in August 2022.
Uh-huh.
So he, after a meeting, actually, he and his wife Hope generously toured me around the Gold City, and of course his company there. And I was impressed by his work and the Mars Society has been doing, and I have been engaged with the society, and blessingly keep instilled with the refreshing knowledge of this field, keeping my head up all the time. So he asked me that, have you ever decided the topic of your dissertation yet? I said no. And he said, why not do some research about it, about space industry, astronauts? And I I like goosebumps immediately like came up to me. I think that's wonderful. You know, Florida Tech is a great place for me to research on this topic because we simply are so easy to access those resources. And then I came back, actually was introduced to the Dean of College of Aeronautics, Dr. John Deaton, and he further developed better ideas and to talk about astronauts. Shared experience. So Rhea Seddon was one of them. I had the great pleasure to meet her personally over last year, Astronaut Hall of Fame.
Okay.
Yes.
That's where this picture was made there with you.
And you can see how lovely this picture. She was circling her right arm around me, and I was still, that was a very touching moment. I have to mark. We met each other and we couldn't speak anything out when we met. It was a touching moment that we were about to say something, but we didn't know what it was. So this freezing moment lasted about 1.5 minutes, and her husband Hood,
Yeah.
if you know him,
Luke Gibson.
yeah,
Know
he
of
was
him.
kind of looking at us like, say something, right?
Yeah.
And we eventually, Ria and I, looking into our eyes, we said, "You are so beautiful."
Oh, that's so nice. That's really nice. Yeah.
I know.
Good.
And we were about to cry, and then I told her what I was doing here, what I was doing there, and we had a nice conversation. And Hoot actually, as a amateur photographer, actually
Took the
NASA,
picture.
yeah, he did take great pictures that NASA had been using. So Hoot actually took this photo for us, and another one with Bonnie Dunbar as well.
We'll see a picture of Bonnie she took this year. We
Yeah.
ran into each other at the Astronaut Hall of Fame this weekend. I'll
Mhm.
probably talk a little about more tomorrow.
Yes.
We wanted to have Ginger on today, and we've got people watching us around the world. We've got Dave Stangy says hello, Ginger. Happy Tuesday to you. He's up in Michigan. RG Jubilee lives around here, and yes, we got on a little late today with some weather and other things going on around us here. But thank you all for hanging on. You know, I'll post if we do have a major problem to go late. Bert Dick, who you know, that helped me with some of the questions that we're going to ask you, says hi to you, Ginger. Tom Celentano is up in Connecticut. He said this sounds interesting, so he's kicked back ready. Steve Jokums, great supporter of our museums up in Fox Lake, Illinois. Elena is listening from South America or South Africa, we think SA
No
means.
way.
Dean Babcock, hello to you. We've got Tej is watching. TEJ. Is that a friend of yours?
I couldn't recognize, but hello, Teach.
And Carlton Bailey says, finally, we're getting a little class on the show, Marty, with this wonderful lady here. So, yes, we are trying to upgrade the class here a little bit. So, we're going to show a few astronaut pictures of the event here, and then I'm going to turn Ginger loose with her what her project is all about. Here you have, these were friends of you said Bernard Harris
Yes,
family that was
and
there.
Winston Scott's
Yeah, Bernard
close
inducted
friends.
into the
Yes.
Astronaut Hall of
Yeah.
Fame
Right.
in there. Always a great opportunity to see people. This picture you shared with me, there's Bob Crippen,
Yes.
the great Bob Crippen, and one of the main
Yes.
supporters. You're having a cocktail with him. I'm even intimidated to get too close to him because he's just, you know, his Shuttle One and what he's done for our museum and so forth. And I think he's like 87 years old there, but he was very nice, right?
He is extremely nice. He was not only being nice, but by that cocktail, well, by the way, that's non-alcoholic, in case there
Yours,
are any
okay.
Mormons in front of our audience. Non-alcoholic mango flavor.
Okay.
So he was generously offering me a drink
Okay.
when I was about to sit, and he just waved to me and was like, "Oh no." That's Bob. Actually, we also met each other last year. And after that, I attended 2 online sessions with him when he was presenting something.
Mm-hmm.
So I recognized him this year and was thinking, "Whoa, Bob showed up." That was, and he told me that actually he lives around in this area, about 2 hours drive
Yes.
from Cape Canaveral
Okay.
with his wife. So not too far.
No, he's
So,
not.
yeah.
He's truly an amazing man, and really you can't underestimate why the museum's here in big part to what Bob Crippen's contributions support
Mm-hmm.
to his good friend Charlie Mars, who's our godfather
Right.
of our museum here today.
Mm-hmm.
Great to see you there, Bob. You look great. He talked on the panel of international spacewalking he did.
Yes.
There's Bonnie Dunbar, a little windy out there at the tiki
Right. Yeah.
hut over there.
Credit to put for the picture as well.
Okay, yeah, okay. And
Mm,
there's this year
yes,
with the lovely lady Katie Coleman,
that's
and you
a
got to talk to Katie. She wants to come to Shuttle Fest. Maybe we'll get her on Stay Curious. You've got a little mascot there with you in your hand.
that's a cinnamon. My friend at Florida Tech named her or him. I don't know the gender, but that's my red rabbit. That my friend named it, and Katie Coleman liked it so much, and I think, hey, why not just give to her? And she signed the book for me. So that's a lovely exchange, I will
Yeah,
say.
her book is just hot
Her,
off the press, and she's promoting it around.
yes,
I'm
yes.
not sure where Katie lives, but a lot of our space friends do know her, including um, Chris Callie. Yeah, Chris has seen her at many events, and we're so grateful. Our people that watch our show and support our museum, that have supported Shuttle Fest, they're always talking about us, and we have got the greatest ambassadors out there for our museum. So, hope that we can bring Katie to you up close and personal. She, after all, was in the cupola of this International Space Station with our good friend Earthling Nicole Stott, and hope Earthling Stott is feeling a lot better, as she was under the weather during the events this weekend. So let's tell me when to advance, and I'm going to turn you loose, young lady, on your program here.
All right. So back to 2020, the very beginning of the pandemic broke out year. I was about to graduate from University of Florida. Hey Gators, if we
Okay.
there are any. So with my second master's degree from Wharton Business School,
Okay.
and I talked to this fact with Norm Thagard this
Yeah,
year.
Norm
Yeah,
Taggart. Yeah.
he got a degree, MBA from Wharton Business School as well.
Oh,
So
did he?
we had a great
Yeah,
conversation.
I had some conversations with Norm also. He loves to talk
He,
about stuff. He's really good. So,
yeah,
yeah, he's an older astronaut compared to the shuttle guys in there.
yes.
So maybe we'll talk about his cognitive things on there. So,
We shall. The way he treated his wife really touched me over dinner.
oh,
So I
okay.
definitely want to talk to them if given
Yes.
by chance. So back to that.
He talks about his wife in his talk out to Space Center.
Mm-hmm,
He comes out there 3 or 4 times a year,
mm-hmm,
as Norm Thagard we're talking about.
right.
And in fact, he shows his grade card, Marty, I think, from college or something. It's a very interesting talk Norm does there. But yeah, we don't have a picture of Norm, but so now we're getting into the meat of what your research is all about, Ginger.
Right. So at that time, I didn't know where to go anyway. And then I was thinking that if I didn't know where to go, how could I be, well, back to that time, I resolved my business, but I did run a small business before. As a businesswoman, as an educator, how could I lead others? How could I teach others if I don't even know where to go during that time? So I think, all right, so why not just go back to school and keep keep learning,
Uh-huh.
right? So I applied doctoral programs and I was accepted, and I definitely made the fit choice, FIT, for
FIT, yes,
yes.
Florida Institute of
So
Technology.
I
It's
was
grown leaps and bounds in the last 20 years, as I'm
yes.
told.
So I was inspired to conduct this research back to 2022, as I just shared. Then this is it.
Okay, well,
To
let's tell where we go there? Oh, there we are, Marty. Sharp, ISSI, and Inspire,
cognitive.
cognitive mapping.
Hmm. So I was thinking, if I don't know where to go, right? I need wayfinders advice. I need mentors, right? So I think, who traveled furthest so far? Astronauts.
Yeah.
They've gone to beyond Earth, right? They go to the space. I have to ask them, how could you go that far? So I think they have really good something in their minds. Later, I researched that that's actually owed to Edward Tomans in 1948. His theory about cognitive mapping. which is actually back to in layman's term as Bert requested. Actually, those are mental representations that help individuals learn, develop, and navigate in environment. Well, nowadays, researchers have developed this cognitive mapping into very, very specific elements to help people for decision making in complex, dynamic contexts, and including factors and elements more than environment. We say it's environment, but it's more like a whole ecosystem. Like,
Mhm.
and I was curious about in terms of a map. I need elements, right? You can't give me a cognitive mapping. You tell me that Tolman told me that, okay, Ginger, you have a cognitive mapping. You know where to go. But hey, what are they? I need like for example, on maps, we have those nodes, right? And then besides nodes, we have pathways to connect those nodes to tell us how to get there. For example, maybe Katie is in Boston, right? We have to know which way. Like so now we set our node like say here Titusville, and now we want to go to Boston, but we have to choose the pathway. We take I-95 or we take Virginia country roads, right? So in qualitative research, there are two kinds of significant methodologies. One is called interpretative phenomenology analysis, abbreviated as IPA. If anyone happens to like drink it, IPA is the
Right, right, okay,
phenomenology
yeah.
analysis. So this methodology will identify and explore key themes in our conversation and help me to identify cognitive maps nodes, like what are the key elements there on a human being's cognitive mapping. And the other methodology is called grounded theory. So this will help us identify patterns, which is the pathways, why and how people will connect those dots on our minds to get there. So I think, all right, so this is my research. And the SHARP, IC, INSPIRE are just the three emergent acronymed themes in terms of timing, context, and human factors in astronauts' lifelong learning.
Okay. Why astronauts?
Yeah, I think we just talk about this, and this is the background of this study. While this study was conducted in a post-COVID challenging time, and we were encountering geopolitical tensions, Ukraine war, of course, and also we have extremely expanding technological advancement, like the AI is the superior one, and also we have some social inequality and gender bias problems, like old cliche problems that we haven't addressed yet, but we have been working on.
And like you said, this all leads to humanity wanting to know the
Yeah.
unknowns of the universe. That's a constant that we're
Right.
always, change is always constant,
Yeah.
and knowledge, search for knowledge is constant.
Yeah.
Here's the purpose of your study.
Yeah. Like I said, I want to try to identify key qualities, skills, and factors for STEM study and career success as the themes, the cognitive nodes, and then to build comprehensive cognitive frameworks.
So you were talking about going from Titusville to Boston and cognitively mapping that. I could go up I-75, but there's a lot of traffic and it might be holidays. And so I would rather maybe think cognitively, well, let's go to the back roads, and time's not a factor when I get back to Boston, so I can take the back roads. If time was a factor to get to Boston, I would take 95 or fly, and another alternative test. So that's what we're talking about, right?
Yep.
And she's going to tell us in an astronaut thinking and training and so forth how they maybe similar to the way I just laid it out, or maybe it's a different way that they lay it out. Let's find out. There's your theoretical framework there. That's
Yes, like I said, my research questions are basically, as you said, when you talk about we are going from Titusville to Boston, you simply mentioned a lot about holidays or sometime. So the key word is timing. You keep thinking about is it a holiday or what? So the first thing is about timing. And as my question to astronauts is the same. What time did you develop your sparkling interest? What time did you make your commitment to space industry? So the first element is I call heavenly hour. It's
okay.
timing. I translated from original Oriental philosophy theories called 天时地利人和. Well, the first one, 天时, literally means heavenly hour. In Christian author Kelly Matthews' term, he called it holy moments. In General Chilton, Chile, and his wife, they would like to call it providential moments. So different people call them different, but most people know this is crucial moments, pivotal moments.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in this study, I just simply translated it into heavenly hour, and then we know that. And second, we talk about where. You talk about I-75, I-95, and you immediately gave me some barriers because traffic. You
Mm-hmm.
think about a lot of hassles that you would like to avoid, and that's terrain triumph. And in Chinese philosophy, it's called 地利. We always want to take advantage of our environment, and that's terrain triumph. My
Okay.
second question, asking astronauts about their home environment, their community, their working environment, space environment, how those factors shape their cognitive mapping in terms in order to retain themselves in academic study and career development. Well, the third one is, of course, I didn't ask you, you didn't mention yet, but I believe you have someone you want to bring with, right? You don't
Yeah.
want to drive yourself there.
Correct.
And you want the best
More company, the better.
you see, you want a dynamic crew for this trip. So the third factor is human harmony. In Chinese, it's called 人和. So you want it together, right? So that's my 天地人 model, or you can call it the HTH model. And then I use the methodology, like I said, interpretative phenomenology analysis, IPA, and grounded theory.
Excellent. Okay. So what else is on it all leads to this philosophical pattern
Mm-hmm.
of how you find your own cognitive path, right?
Right.
Okay. Go to the next. So you
Oh,
wanted to mention this is Lauren Acton,
yes.
early astronaut, one of the first scientists to go to space with his wife and you.
Yes. Lauren and Evelyn. They are great, sweet, darn sweet couples.
Uh-huh. You said they've been married how long they're going to be celebrating?
All right, audience. And on August 30th this year, it's going to be their 68th
Wow, 60.
anniversary.
Holy cow.
How sweet it was.
That's some wedded bliss.
I met them just 2 weeks, or I think, yeah, August 17th. That's the Astronaut Innovation Gala in Houston last year. So it was about just 2 weeks before their 67th anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
What a pleasure it was to meet.
And one of your test subjects, right, of this study.
Well, this he was the first participant that released his right to share his name. Everything that we talked, and I also shared the data, he said perfectly fine. Everything could be shared.
Now,
So
how often did you talk to him to get your data? Was this just a couple hours sit down, or did you
yeah,
talk to him several times?
yeah, actually interviewing this couple is a sweet memory as well. I went
bet.
to Nevada.
Yeah.
So they live in Spark City, Nevada now, and they are still, you probably can't believe, they are actively working and engaging in a methodologist church. And I had the luck to volunteer my work one day there, distributing food for the
Oh,
homeless.
excellent.
Yes. So
Excellent.
great experience.
Yeah, we got cut off there, but this is
Mm,
your data collection, your interviews, your
right,
this is
what I
your
did.
study
Hmm.
notes, so to speak, your of what you're trying to accomplish there.
Right, so this is the internal pilot study, what our emergent theme from, actually, with 7 semi-structured interviews, just each of them is about 2 hours. Some of them are extremely generous, and they gave me 3 to 5 hours.
Okay.
So we just had a great conversation, very, very deep. And 5 of them were conducted like in person, 2 of them conducted online, 5 of them are individual astronauts. But you know what? After the 5th one, I think soon you're going to show the picture. So, oh, not this
Oh,
one, but after the 5th one, I was inspired to invent the journey memory tethering phenomenology, and that's to engage your lifelong significant partner in the interview
hmm.
to just enrich the data, because some of the time, so one of the purpose of this study is to, of course, inspire young generations to help them navigate through their path. But also the other is a very important one, is to helping the aging generation to activate memory, to retain the memory, and to prevent the onset of Alzheimer's disease.
How did you determine the questions lining that you're going to do? The line of questioning, was this from some of your uh, standard training
Mm.
that you know to ask things? Uh,
That's a good question. As I said, the interviews are semi-structured interviews, which means that I prepare based on my theoretical works. So Heavenly Hour, terrain triumph, human factors, and cognitive mapping theory. I developed interviews, questions about them, but I also leave myself enough room to ask questions that just customized for each participant.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
We got who were your here's your model.
Yeah, my findings. Yeah. So the first one, sharp. You can see there's a green on the other hand, a gray one. That's a 4 moments. So actually, on educational development theory, we normally talk about interest, passion, retirement, commitment time. Actually, there is a few study exploring retirement and commitment time in terms of study and career. So I basically developed 4 questions. I only ask 4 questions about this 4 crucial moments of their life. But after the first interview, and I analyzed the data, I found, you know what? Astronauts not only talk about the 4 moments, the interest, the passion, commitment, and reaching fulfillment, which is the retirement time, but they talk about a lot about honing transitions, time that when they really didn't know where to go, time that they found difficulty in making plan A or plan B or the alternative path. They reflected a lot on alternative path.
Uh-huh.
Shall I go to engineering school, or shall I go to keep going to musical school, or what? So they think
Learn to
about,
fly an airplane.
yeah, shall I go to flight school, or shall I go get an MD or get corporate law? I like so.
Great crossroads for an astronaut career, one to be chosen.
Right. That's why the original kind of framework with 4 elements, I added another 5th element with which is called holding transitions, and I added, of course, adjective verbs on each moment, and I aligned them in this order: sparkling interest, holding transitions, awakening passion, reaching fulfillment, and pledging commitment. So we have SHARP, sharp. Is,
Okay.
is given this way, and I purposefully put pledging commitment at the fifth one to align with the first one, because for some astronauts, when they share the beautiful moment they first time met their significant partners, it happens to be the moment that they actually, for somehow, they made the commitment already. They and also the year that they got married happened to the year that they kicked off their career. They just went to flight school or went to NASA. Isn't that beautiful?
Yes. Yes. I'm following this, folks. Ginger Chen. Hope you're enjoying this very interesting conversation. She's going to let you know, the results of this, maybe a little bit about, like I said, we're talking off camera a little bit here, and she has found some connectivity with all this. Uh, and Steve Jokum says, sounds a lot like how I made a connection to ASM, American Space Museum. Uh, uh, did you ever, uh, Carlton Bailey wants to know, have astronauts declined interviewing with you to probe into their brain thinking, their cognitive thinking?
Of course, I think highly professionals, quite a number of them would keep a very low profile and would like to keep their life very private, and I respect that.
Okay.
So definitely not each astronaut that I invited to participate in my research would agree to do so, and there's no problem. So um,
Yeah,
I
we respect their privacy as well as their thinking on
definitely,
there.
yes.
A couple more charts here she's got to emphasize her research, and
Mm-hmm.
I love pie charts.
Hmm.
Your model here is now for your ISEE.
IC, I call it IC 地利 or terrain framework. Actually, this framework, I have to give credit to Bronfenbrenner's 1978. His theory about ecosystem, he actually comprised his framework with 5 elements. One of them is chronosystem. Chronosystem, if you like Greek mythology, you know that is about timing. And you know, my first
Yeah, Kronos, the god of time, or
god of
yeah,
time, right? So chronosystem, because you know, my first framework about 天时 is already about heavenly hour. So
right.
I excluded that element as our heavenly hour sharp model. So I preserved those 4 systems, and I reclassified some misleading or unclear elements in his original form, and I upgraded this
Hmm.
into the current 4 new Bronfenner's framework, or we call it IC 地利 framework. And actually, whenever, like what you said about, we go to the map I-75, you immediately identify the traffic. So in this framework, that would belong to EPIC, environmental and physical exosystem, but also you identified it's an obstacle. We call it a barrier, or we call it a challenge. So that belongs to C3. So that's challenge 3. And the
Hmm.
first one is ideological and cultural ideal macro system. That's the invisible one that you didn't see. And you may want to think that, hey, nowadays, it's very strict. The nation, the government is very strict in like identifying people's traveling or stuff. I may not want to go during this intense time, right? So this is more ideal system. You are thinking about that factors, that will be ideal. And for both for each four systems, and we have catalysts and challenges. That's why I identify catalyst, it's smaller C1, and C1 to C4, that represents all good things about the four systems, and the challenges I identified and a big C1 to C4, because you know what, eventually in the conversation, and like you think about challenge first, the traffic first, the challenge in doing this thing. So one of the theory or findings in this study is that it is really the challenges that made astronauts who they are, and maybe us too. You see, you easily testified that theory. You think about challenge, what things you would like to conquer, right? You didn't think about sweet things first.
Yeah,
But that's
right.
very risk and mind setting. So those four system, I think it's beautifully represent almost like four chambers of our heart as well. And if you
Okay.
really think about Earth, and if you spell it in differently, it's just our heart, right? So I think it's really
Relating the four chambers of the heart to this model of your cognitive thinking. That is very interesting. I like that a lot. Marty's got a question for you, Ginger.
please.
We have two questions. The first one is from Bert Dick. How has the integration of Chinese philosophy influenced your study?
I really like that question. The name again, please.
Bert. That's from
Bert.
Bert,
Oh,
Bert
from
Dick.
our friend Bert Dick.
Bird.
Yeah.
Hello. So that's a great question. Integration or unity is very hard. And if you experts know how we use telescope like the Webb telescopes to observe our galaxy, you know we have two kinds of light. One is what is called infrared light, right?
Infrared.
Infrared
Yeah.
light, and there's
Heat sensing.
heat sensing, and there's another kind of light. You could observe our galaxy in two different ways. One is that everything is so vivid, right? That's the infrared light. But the other one, the other kind of light, NASA made a beautiful like a poster card with that. And then with another kind of light, it's called acronymed as WISE or something. It's very blurry. But these two types of looking at that, I think, isn't that both of them are true. It's just two different kinds of perspectives, two different kinds of light. And in terms of this theory, I think since I came here to the US, I think everything is just crystal clear. Researchers, philosophers, everyone deals with things in a crystal clear way, and I like it. No misunderstanding, and everything has to be crystal clear.
That's not the Chinese way.
I think
Is what
Chinese
Bert's
way.
asking is your
But yes, so I think Chinese tend to, I mean, generally, right? I like crystal clear. That's why I'm here, probably. But you know, some people like a more mysterious way, a blurry, like fog. Some people like Florida weather with sunshine and everything so bright. Some people just like the London fog. It's mystery. And nowadays I don't know why, but I really love our weather from April to, I mean, early March maybe to until May or June. Each morning, whenever there's a heavy fog, I loved it so bad. I love the kind of blurry and uncertainty. Isn't it just like our life?
Well, the
Yeah.
blurriness you're talking about is a creative thinking in my mind, okay, in my cognitive mind here,
Mm-hmm.
where your crystal is what an astronaut has to be thinking. You can't have a blurry thinking with an astronaut. That's sort of like an artist, Chris Calley, in his work starts out,
Mm-hmm.
and then through the mist or the blurriness you're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
you move from one maybe idea of, oh, but this would be much better displayed in the foreground instead of the background or something like that. But crystal clear thinking,
Mm-hmm.
an astronaut has to have with the decision makings,
Mm-hmm.
the your timing,
Mm-hmm.
in there. So am I on the right track?
Actually, you are on the right track partially.
Mhm.
Oh, that my
I've been told
my
that
my
before.
my other finding will make you surprised, and
Okay.
you would love it.
Good.
That's something that I really want to share with our
Okay.
with our educators and programs about goal setting and about clear or not enough. And back to bird question. So, hey, I think you know what? Sometimes we need crystal clear, but also sometimes we need blurry, right? And like Tolman provided us a brief cognitive mapping. That's blurry, but I want to identify things in it. What are the cognitive maps? He dealt tons of studies and experiments with rats and then transferred to human beings and to inspire people to think rationally. And I think, okay, Chinese people, whenever in terms of a big in terms of individual decision making or strategic war decision makings, they tend to think basically three elements, right? 天时、地利、人和, basically timing, environment, and human factors.
Timing, environment, and human factors. Okay.
Yeah,
Sure.
heavenly hour, terrain triumph, and human harmony,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So that's it.
Another question.
Another question, Marty.
I have a question from Michael Bruno. Ginger, did you find any cognitive characteristics which seems to parallel a high tolerance for risk or lack of fear?
Oh, that's one. That's a great question. There are so many keywords identified with this question. I did ask them about this, and I can recall, I can't be accurately sharing all of them, but top words on my head, I can remember. First one, problem solving. So the first thing, whenever anything happens in what kind of environments, the first thing, always problem solving. First, present focused. No
In the
matter,
space station,
yes,
on the
yeah,
International Space Station.
yes,
Something
yes,
comes up
yes,
immediately.
immediately problem solving. And in terms of simultaneously, on top of these two, simultaneously, do not try to blame this problem or anything into others. Try
Okay.
to avoid conflicts, but try to focus on the problem solving,
We'll figure
and
it out who
figure out.
caused it later.
Yes,
gotta
that's reflections after, but definitely that's a topic that they want to talk about later, but not right now. Right now is present focused and problem solving. Hmm.
Mhm.
And do not react instantly.
Okay. Well, a lot of us space geeks think about Apollo 13 and the astronauts faced with what they were faced with, the explosion and all, and going into a life-saving mode immediately.
Yes, that's a challenging
They
topic.
they could not worry about what caused it. They had to worry
That
about how we're going to get through this,
like
right?
yeah, yeah, right, and Challenger and other disasters that's a huge incisive event for all of them, and the survivor guilt is a top emotional challenge for them.
Well, how about the fear factor and the high tolerance for fear and mixed in this? Did you find all astronauts had, for example, a high tolerance of fear?
Actually, you know what? Fear didn't emerge in our transcripts.
Okay.
Fear is not one of the things. They are not fearful. They either hold a Eucharist in their pocket to conquer fear, to use strong faith to anchor them,
Okay.
but they may have it, I mean, but they hid it pretty well in my interview analyst. But genuinely, I didn't
Okay.
hear it.
Marty, that
Yeah.
reminds me of Charlie Walker,
Mm-hmm.
astronaut, in his talk,
Mm-hmm.
says all the time, no, I wasn't afraid at the launch. I died 150
150
times
times,
in
exactly.
simulations,
Yes,
in there.
that's exactly the same way that they talk about. They are not afraid of like fear or death at all. They actually wanted to keep pushing themselves, keep pushing their boundaries physically, emotionally, and spiritually. They want to test what death is actually. They actually didn't feel anything if they don't do things without challenges.
Oh,
If
okay.
you have ever met Kelly Scott, who also
Yes, Scott Kelly.
Scott Kelly.
Yeah, that he spent 11 months in space.
Right,
Twin brother Mark.
right. Like basically what he described in his autobiography, Endurance, the
Yeah.
feeling that he basically didn't feel anything until he wanted to fly, to do something that's impossible. Basically, he feels life is so mundane until the moment that he felt, oh, that's the right stuff. And that could challenge me. I can see that. I can fly, or I can do something very, very daunting and
Huh.
challenge my life.
To bring that to somebody like me, if I feel mundane and morose and just uh, treading water in the old, you know, life cycle here, I'm probably not challenging myself. Then you're saying to get out of that, I have to find a challenge, right?
Well, then you have to tell me, Mark. That's your cognitive mapping,
Okay.
right? You have to
Well,
tell.
does that apply to everybody? That
That's
if
a
you're in if you feel stuck in your job, in your whatever, that maybe find not abandon, quit your job or anything, but find other challenges within that.
that's a great question, Mark. That's a great question because that's something that I suspect and I hypothesis. That's why one of the
Uh-oh, I'm a
results,
theory now.
yeah, you are giving actually pre projecting a good result of this study. Universal essence is the study result of IPA.
Universal what?
Universal essence, or we call it
Essence,
universal
okay.
truth, is the ideal research result of interpretative phenomenology analysis. If
Mm-hmm.
one thing is testified in one person, as we are all connected, as we are all in this, we should have shared one same gene. And then you know what? It's true to everybody. And the point, the feeling that you described are just testified or shown in this study. Each of them feels that the turning point is, you know what, is a low point that you feel so hopeless.
Hmm.
Hopeless. You feel empty. You feel dark. If I invited them to describe the moment in terms of colors, they feel it's basically dark.
Huh.
They feel hopeless, they feel lonely, they feel such a low
An
point.
astronaut getting the sixth rejection letter.
Oh
That
yeah,
then, but
could
yet they
be,
applied again and again
could
and
be.
again.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Yes, that's one of those.
Huh.
And the other, yeah, that's the moment. Extremely mundane, and you feel like you exhausted yourself already. And that will be a holy moment that we reflect a
Hmm.
lot.
Well, we've certainly read books and talked to other astronauts about that moment. But, I'm thinking Jose Hernandez, Marty. What 16 times he applied to be an astronaut, uh, and well, we're enjoying Ginger Chen here. Hope you are. Let's see. Uh, yes, Steve Jokums has got a great comment there. Um, John Young, the commander of the first space shuttle, there with
Mm-hmm.
Bob Crippen beside him,
Yes.
was asked one time if he was afraid or concerned, and his reply that Steve Jokums is echoing here: "If you're not concerned, you don't understand the situation you're in." And
Mm.
which is meaning like I'm sitting on a bomb, we're going up in space for the first time in the spacecraft.
Mm-hmm.
He had his own anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
All right, he didn't display it. The man walked on the moon and did 2 Saturn V launches. John Young, we're talking about. John Young Parkway in Orlando, named after the great man, by the way. Yeah, so, uh, but they don't show this fear, this concern. because they have a way to compartmentalize that, you're saying,
Yes.
and focus on the task at hand, and will worry about what happens later. Is that
Mhm.
what you're saying?
It is exactly what this study shows. I would not say that's something I can say, but from the study result, it shows. And one of the German philosophers' theory, it's Heidegger, if you happen to know him, the
No, don't, not
Hegel,
up on my
Hegel,
German
Hegel,
philosophers.
Hegel. I think he's. My pronunciation is problematic, but I'm sure you probably know
Mhm.
him. Hegel, I think,
Okay.
German philosopher. So one theory is like leaving towards death, and I surely feel all those astronauts have shared this attitude. They know what they are doing. They are not afraid at all. At the moment they keep, in their term, keep their butt on a rocket, they know exactly what they are facing. They chose to do that. They've already sensed that they are what
Yeah.
what they are facing. So
Well,
they are
unlike
not.
a lot of jobs out there,
Mhm.
the reward is great.
Yes,
Let's face it, they
right.
are virtually have achieved immortality,
Mm-hmm.
as an American astronaut or cosmonaut or
Mm-hmm.
tachyonaut. You
Yes,
know,
Takuna.
your
Mm-hmm.
your tachyonauts are very revered people, and
Yeah.
in fact, Lou, the first one, he didn't ever fly again because he's too valuable
Yes.
in there.
They are valuable, invaluable human
Invaluable. Yeah.
beings. And I really like, is that John's comment?
Steve's comment about
Steve
John
comment
Young.
about
Yeah.
John Young.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that because John Young was given a lot of credits among the participants, and I happened to let them know that, you know what, my advisor at Florida Tech's name is Dr. Joe Young Park. And you know what, we have the first similarity of us is that we both have a Young in
Oh,
as our mentors.
all right. And then you've got J.U.N., the great philosopher there.
Yeah.
Well, what are we looking at here? What's this?
So this is the
This
last theoretical framework about a 人和 human harmony model. Actually, inspire. Well, this is not the PPT format unless I can show you the progressive, like the growing path. But the first one, is identity born. Do you want to kind of
yeah,
give
like
it
I
a
can make
little?
it smaller there.
Okay,
The first
yes.
one's
I'll move you.
is identity born there.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Hold
Oh,
on there, Ginger.
hey, we are moving. We are
Yeah, hold
surfing.
on tight.
Great.
Marty just took us on a Disney ride
I
there.
almost fell off from the chair.
You're doing great, Ginger. She was a little bit nervous, but you're doing awesome. And in fact, I understand a lot of this. I'm surprised, really, because I'm giving you my corn pone analysis of it here. But so you got there your identity, you're born.
Yes. So identity born is something that they always started sharing when I ask them who you are.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? What made you? Like who
She's
astronauts
asking
are?
astronauts this.
Yeah. Who are you? Or who like what human beings are, or what astronauts are, as at least, like what is your self identity? How do you develop your self identity?
And what do they
To
say?
They always begin with, I was born in where, here or there, and I'm either white or black, very clear
Mm-hmm.
about their race. And they will tell me I am a woman, I am a man, so different things. And they will tell me, oh, I'm born in this family. They share the legacy of their family. So those are the things that they were born with, then that they could not easily change. But some of the factors that I want to tell you, an interesting finding of this study is that, you know what, all the things that I thought, or we normally think identity born, are actually can be dynamic too, like gender. At a different life stage, they may identify them differently as they were born, and that's totally fine if they can empower them
Mm-hmm.
differently. right? So some elements, and then notable traits are identified key features among astronauts. For example, hard working ethics is the top one, number
Okay.
one. And
Not surprising there.
not at all, right? Determined. Once they make the decision, no regret, no looking back.
Okay.
Very, very resilient. That's a huge one. And come to the next one, it's a social bounds. They will tell me or tell us that they are mom, they are dad, right? They are good friends, they are colleagues. So those are some social bounds. And some of them may serve as doctors. So patients are their social bounds as well. And one interesting finding in social bound is they all have one angelic figure at crucial moments showing up in their life. An angelic figure that they couldn't even recall their names, but they will never forget how important this angelic figure.
Oh boy, I know Winston Scott has a Mr. Ledoux, his band teacher, that
Oh,
intervened
mm-hmm.
and got him into Florida,
Mm.
into college,
That's a
and
teacher. Actually,
Florida State, I think he went
that's
to,
common. Yeah, mentor
and
and teachers are common, but some person that just showed. For example, one of the parent of a participant, a research participant of an astronaut, is so he actually served as a coach of a national swim team, and one of the his students' parent just asked him that why don't you join the army? And he said that, you know what? I thought I'm too tall, or I'm not qualified anyway. She said, you're not. You look perfect. I can see you perfect there. Great fit there.
uh,
That's how he developed his career path. He decided to join the army and to fly the aviation school.
awesome.
So this someone, we may not remember the name, but that's kind of an indispensable part in our social bounds. So that's social bounds. And also, they have great principles and beliefs or purposes of beliefs, and also incisive events. We talked about some tragic events that they will say they definitely shape them and establish who they are, but also rewarding moments. For example, the moment that they got their wings. Yes, as
Okay.
pilots, right? That's a great moment for different people, like incisive events.
Um, so much of this, I've got other questions out there. We'd love that. Um, the events. I'm thinking many of us have read Writing Rockets by Mike Mullane, and he talks about getting his, he was a military guy, and they were going to get something, astronaut pins or something.
Hmm.
But because it was a Department of Defense mission,
Hmm.
they had to do it like behind closed doors, and it wasn't the ceremony that Mullane wanted it to be, type of thing. But he got his wings or whatever it was, and yet it had to be done kind of like, not like the other people that had got their wings and that weren't on a top secret mission,
Hmm.
shuttle mission. It
Hmm.
was on there, so that's interesting on there.
Yeah.
Your reflections and
Oh,
dreams.
yeah. They are great reflectors. They reflect on their life a lot.
Do I?
And also some of them are dreamers as well. They have great dreams that we shared, and I'm a dreamer, I dream, and we
Yeah.
shared the significance of our dreams. So reflections or dreams are definitely something that make who astronauts are. And I think
Interesting. They're together there.
reflections and
Reflections are looking
dreams.
back, and dreams are looking.
Are you sure your dreams are all about future, not
Oh
the
no,
past?
no, I'm not saying so much.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah,
Yeah,
they
so
do fit
reflections
together
and
then.
dreams,
Okay.
right?
That's I'm
And
thinking more like dream of being an astronaut, dream of
yes. Oh, all right.
achieving this mission, the
Yes.
dream of that
Yes.
everything goes
Yep.
well. But no, there's no we no
Yep.
laying in bed dreaming. Those are nightmares, Ginger. Those aren't reflections of my path.
Dreams here has two senses. One of them is, well, you covered both actually.
Yeah.
We also talk about nightmares, that kind
Yeah.
of dream, and also the other is the essence of self.
Now,
So
astronauts have to think a lot of themselves, right?
yeah, yes, who they are, and essence of self is basically I want to ask them. We have a lot of astronauts, but what do you think? What made you differently from other astronauts?
Hmm.
Hmm.
Well,
Hmm.
there's commanders and pilots. There's that fly the machine. There's
Yes.
other scientists
Hmm.
and do other things in there. Yeah, it's very, very, very different. Did you find a difference between pilots who become commanders
Hmm.
and the mission specialists? Did you?
Well, you might be shocked. None of them will answer questions in this way. They will tell me, some of them will tell me, "Oh, I might be a perfectionist or something," but some of them also say that, you know what? I don't think I'm different from others.
Fine.
That's beautiful. They think that they're the same.
Well, I showed you our women's gallery that you
Yeah,
liked, right?
I do. I
And
do.
and you saw what several of the women
Mm-hmm.
wrote up there,
Right.
like Kathy Thornton. You know,
We
if I
definitely
can do
want
it,
to, we
you
definitely
can do
want,
it. You
yes,
know,
right.
if I can
Oh,
become an
when,
astronaut, Nicole Stott says,
yeah,
anyone, you can be an astronaut.
yes. Wendy Lawrence tends to say that a lot. If I
Uh-huh.
can do that, you can do that. I think,
Beautiful,
yeah.
beautiful. Marty, we got a question over there.
Yeah, I've got a question from Dean Babcock. Did any of the subjects interviewed discuss how their decisions affected their family life?
Thank you, Dean. So as you can tell, one of the factors of the Inspire model, social bonds, our families are a huge part, right? They talk they talk a lot about families and decision making, and they also one significant thing that they feel most is that when their shuttle missions were rescheduled, because that's going to be a lot of decision making for their families and a lot of troubles um, that they didn't expect, but
Mm-hmm.
they had to deal with. Um, do I answer the question, or you want you
Well, you
what?
know, also part of that might
Hmm.
be Dean is wanting to know is did the families back them all their decisions? Did they feel like
Oh,
they needed their family
oh,
approval
de-
to do things,
mm,
or was it it's not it's a lot different, you know?
I like the question definitely. As families, especially after astronauts already made the personal commitment with their significant partners, they probably will never worry about whether the significant partner will support or not. That's that's inarguable. That's definitely 100, 1,000 times yes. They support each other unconditionally, like Ria said and described in her book. In her interview, actually. So I think the astronauts, the former astronauts, asked her, "What do you think if one male astronaut would just propose to you and ask you quit your job in your hometown as a surgeon and just come to NASA, work at NASA?" And you know how Ria said? Ria said, "You know what? I don't think he's going to be my partner. Because if he's going to be my partner, he will never ask me not to do anything. He will support me."
Excellent,
Dean,
excellent.
I hope you get what you asked.
Yeah, very good, very good. Let's see another slide here. Oh, there's a beautiful grouping there of
Oh,
that is Brewster Shaw on the left and his wife behind you. And
let me make another
yeah,
clarification in for our audience.
yeah.
So the pictures I show here, doesn't necessarily mean that they are my research participants. For humanities studies, this is highly confidential.
Got you.
So
And
this
you
is a
gather
sweet,
that. We're
right,
not
right,
probing what
right.
astronaut said this and that for her.
Right, right.
This
So
is
they
a
are,
confidential study.
but Lauren Acton generously released his right. So
Okay.
Lauren Acton definitely
Yeah,
is.
said that
Yes,
you could say that.
Brewster also released his right to use his name. So that's fine. So this is a lovely, pleasant evening.
That's Joe Tanner behind
Right.
him
This
with
is
his wife.
this is not about research. It's just a gathering, like a fam reunion in Telluride. Brewster.
Telluride, Colorado.
Yeah, beautiful place.
Yes, it
Like
is.
just reminds me of my hometown. So Brewster with Moby.
Really?
Uh-huh.
That part of Colorado reminds you of Mongolia?
Definitely my hometown, Chifeng specifically.
Huh.
All red. The ground, the rocks, the mountains, and the crispy clear air, and the gondola.
Okay, all right.
The world-class gondola, and it's free.
Now, we'll have to go there
You have
and
to.
say hi to Genghis Khan while I'm there.
He might be there.
Well,
We
there's
don't
got to
know.
be a statue of him there, right?
Well, well, that's Brewster and their lovely dog Moby, and actually the
Obi.
Moby,
Oh,
M-O-B-Y,
Moby.
Moby, and the woman, the lady on the right, Kathy, that's his wife, Kathy.
Oh, I
and
gotcha.
Brewster, yeah. So other two couple,
Joe Tanner and his wife.
and his wife, mother, yeah. And I was playing my traditional Chinese 21 string zither.
Zither.
Yes, right.
Right.
Because if you know, Brewster is a rock star. He plays in a band before.
Oh, okay.
Guitar, right?
In the I didn't know if he was in the Max Q band of the Astronauts. Hoot Gibson played guitar in it.
Mm-hmm.
Also in there. So,
Right.
Brewster was one of Marty's bosses. We're not your boss? Okay.
No,
But
Brewster-
you know Brewster through your job is what I should
Yeah.
say. And you got to talk to him at the cocktail challenge on last Thursday. Yeah. You ever met Moby, his dog?
No.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's a sweet picture. What a great memory there.
It
And
is.
there he is with you this year.
Yeah, last year actually. This
Shuttle
year.
Commander.
Yep, that
All
was
right.
last year.
Oh, last year?
And
Okay.
if you could tell behind us, can you tell who he is? The gentleman talks to the lady.
No, I can't see who that is.
That's Armstrong's son,
Oh, okay. All right. All right. Yes.
right? We met twice last year here in Cape Canaveral and also in Houston.
Okay, we've been going on for about an hour here and enjoying it. You've got some other charts and stuff here that
Yeah,
we could go through and
yeah, like I said, I was inspired to invent a new methodology, phenomenology, because I really want to help prevent the onset of Alzheimer's disease for aging population. That's why I think it's significant to include participants' significant partner, lifelong partner especially, to just be there. Even by the simple presence, it will inspire the participant to easily recall more memories. So that's the journey memory tethering phenomenology. And love, so LO represent Lauren, VE represents Evelyn. So that's love guided serendipitous inquiry. Because in our interview, as an international student, my English is definitely there are a lot of flaws, I have to say.
you're
So
very good. Don't worry
when
about that.
in the interview, for somehow when Lauren was trying to speak a significant role in his social bounds, his actually elder sister, who actually really tended him a lot when he was young, grew up in a huge ranch in Montana, and for somehow I heard auntie. I don't know why, but I just asked him, your auntie, after his comment, and he paused, he frowned, and he said, you know, his name is Monty.
Oh, okay.
And I immediately,
Monty.
yeah, he said, Monty is her name. Actually, Her name is Irma Monty. And I immediately realized, you know what? I said auntie, and he thought I knew I identified his elder sister's name as Monty. So he misheard me. But I felt so blessed. I had no idea about what his elder's names was, but he just openly shared another memorable event with Monty Irma.
Huh.
And I felt, wow, that's a moment that an error actually. That's what I call love guided serendipitous inquiry. I
Okay.
don't know where or why I said auntie. Your auntie? Actually, he heard your Monty, but that's something that I really like. So
Well,
I
everybody's saying there's no flaws in your English. In fact, Steve Jokum thinks you speak better than many Americans do, in fact, on that. We got a few things to go through here, and I
Yeah.
don't want to rush through it, but maybe
Yeah.
we could come back and
Okay.
revisit some of these later.
Yeah.
Because we're,
Yeah. Yes.
yeah, I like the universal essence here.
Yes. How long do we have, Mark?
As long as you want. Keep on going on here if you want.
Oh, let's just go quickly. Like we already mentioned, some universal essence we found is that an unknown source, empathy, far-fetched, and divine moment. Those are the great moment in terms of timing. And also,
Which an astronaut certainly needs.
right, for sharp, like for our framework sharp, we identified 5 moments, right? But for some astronauts, age represent honing transitions, wanes for the unwavering minds, which means that some astronauts did not change at all. They never vacillated. They were never thinking about anything or any alternative path other than being an astronaut.
Huh.
That's what that means. And the commitment hides in the spark. This is a beautiful we shared also. Commitment, sometimes the pledging commitment moment tends to be the very beginning as well. They could correlate those moments.
Huh.
Those moments are like beginnings also hold their ending. The beginning already carries the ending. The beauty is there. And also one phenomena is that astronauts talk a lot about timestamps. They always tend to answer their questions in terms of timing. When they asked at what time, they always started with in 1925, 1961, 1980, or that thing took me 5 months, 25 years, 29 years. So very, very specific, clear time
Yeah, I hear
stamp.
that a lot among
Yeah,
astronauts.
That's their mindset.
Yeah.
That's their cognitive mapping tell us. Right. Universal about terrain triumph. I want to introduce the universal expansion. So for the four systems, it's just growing. Like each exosystem is growing. The meso soap social bonds system is growing. So basically, you meet more people, and the ideal macro system, you started probably with a Christian Baptist family, and then you happen to meet more Catholics or Presbyterian. You have more and more, and this I call universal expansion. Like the 3D graphic shows us. And about human harmony, let's say it's blah 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 blah. That's a lot.
We talked about your identity, you're born, your notable traits from the bottom up, your social bonds there.
Right.
This is where you filled in the
we have to come back to
yeah, well,
but
we
if
want
we
to come
want
back
to-
and look at some of this a little bit in more incisive events, Boy Scouting experience, extravehicular activity, fighter pilot experience, flying solo, loss, honor, rewards are all events that affect them and shape them,
Yes.
none more than the tragedies, right?
Loss
The
would
the
be.
the
Yeah.
the, the loss of
The
the
loss will.
Challenger and the
Yes.
Columbia,
Yes.
they have
That
definite.
that included in loss. Yeah, that's a
Hmm.
huge loss. Yes.
And
Oh.
the lollipops.
Oh, the sweet time.
Yeah, sweet time here.
Oh, when I
Y'all get dessert here with the lollipop
Oh
for
yeah,
lunch
I think our
today.
audience will like to taste this a lot because when I validate my data or my findings with astronaut, they love this so much. So
Okay.
about timing for philosophical, so this is I'm going to try to build some grounded theory with this. I think this might be it. So the first one I call it mono loop. This mono loop represents the astronauts that I just told you for the sharp 5 moments. The holding transition missed. Wane. They only have 4 moments because they never vacillated. This mono loop typically represent astronauts with only one sparkling interest, with one
The one on the left we're talking about.
passion and commitment and a retirement. They retire. They started as an astronaut, retire an astronaut, just it. And the second one, the bi loop, if Marty can rocket move us again.
Mm-hmm.
So
He's got the word. She wants you to move us on the other side again, Marty. Your immediate impact versus flexible timing.
yeah, that's
Your
other
delayed
two.
realization versus fixed timing.
Yeah, that's their philosophical patterns too. That's something that show. But back to our lollipop theory. So the bi loop shows that some astronauts could give me or give us two sparkling interests, two awakening passion time, two pledging commitments time, or to reachment, and a lot of holding transitions. So at different stages of their life, they tend to think, shall I choose A or B? Shall I do this and that? So this is
Flight school
occurring.
or engineering school.
Yeah, this is recurring. So and eventually, you know what? They do have more than one retirement. They retire from NASA. They retire from other place as well. And so this is something that I call, you can see the great colorful like candy part. You can also tell a very creamy part, a subtle part go with it hand in hand. And that's what I call bi loop.
Okay.
Right? And it's generated by AI. Not perfect, but I think it's just the blurry, flawless beauty.
All right. And
No,
then the poly loop.
yeah, the poly loop just means they have more than 3 interests. They have more than 3 retirements, and they see themselves multiple experts roles in their life. That's yeah.
Well, I'm thinking Kathy Thornton, after an astronaut, taught 20 years of engineering at the University of Virginia in Charlottesville.
Yeah.
And then third thing is involved with the Scholarship Foundation, maybe type of thing. Is that what you're looking at? They had 3 retirements.
Well, I cannot answer this. We have to ask her to
Yeah,
confirm
for
how
example.
they.
I'm not saying
I
her
mean, for us,
specifically,
I think. What do you think, Mark? What do you think her career path fit into?
well, definitely the bi loop, because I
The
don't
bi
know
loop.
exactly
I
after
agree.
her.
Yeah, I would
It'd be
say
more bi loop.
I would say for KT, either like an astronaut definitely, but also a scholar.
Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely two, like
Okay.
at least a bi loop. But we will have to ask her to
But
verify.
and that lends it to this. Some astronauts are always astronauts. Let's say John McBride, the great John McBride, passed away. He was an astronaut, and then 20 some years as the chief of the astronauts at the Space Center that they brought in to talk.
Yes.
John Young probably didn't do anything after.
I
his
would say
astronaut
John
career.
Young would be the one, the mono loop.
Go ahead, Marty.
I would think Bernard Harris would fit into poly. I think he's an excellent example.
I agree. I think so. Entrepreneur, astronaut, and
Football player.
football player.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely agree. How Marty and Mark, how would you, can we, you two just inspired me to see another trend that I haven't found yet. Because you two are very experienced. You've met so many astronauts than me. And I just found the astronaut in prior time, they tend to be fall into monoloop. But
Hmm.
in nowadays, do you see their career path is not linear anymore. It's more
Oh,
divergent and
absolutely.
interdisciplinary.
Jose Hernandez.
Now
Jose Hernandez.
nowadays it's a trend. Well,
Yeah.
in old days it's more singular, more linear, but nowadays not. It's very multidisciplinary.
Hmm.
They tend to, our society, our time allow us or allow them to really develop multiple roles,
But
right?
the early astronauts, Mercury 7, they were not mono, they were bi. They were all military, then astronauts. And
Mm-hmm.
There
then
you
some of
go.
them went to careers.
Yes.
We actually understand what you're talking about, is what Marty's saying. We love that. Yeah. Very good. Very, very cool. Uh, and then we have this thing again here, your
Yeah,
philosophical
yeah,
tree.
the philosophical pattern in Terrain Triumph or Di Li, um, what I what I observed or found in this study is like that, like I said, I found a survive to thrive arc. The arc of their growth pattern is just to survive. Because when they started, they met more challenges. They have more hardships. They met systematic barriers and adversities in personal, professional, all kinds of this. But after they conquered them, they established them. Just when they conquered those challenges, what happened to be the time they established themselves. That's why I said I used capitalized letter C to represent the challenges and
Okay.
smaller letter to represent the catalyst in our terrain triumph.
Okay. And
Oh,
they got your.
human harmony philosophical pattern. I just find that each astronaut, or maybe each of us, we just from since our born from identity born into the essence of self, and I there are let me give it to the I, the identity born, I
Yeah.
tend to use a smaller I, inspire. And
Okay.
the element in incisive events, I use the capitalized I because I want to represent this progress. It's just each of us just start from a smaller I into a larger I. Our growth or our life learning pattern, it tends to be more like becoming I. Isn't it the becoming I process?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely there. Yeah, no. Uh, Very basic human traits,
Yeah,
patterns,
yeah.
whatever you're talking about there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just your technical words that are in your your realm is not unlike a reading a manual of an astronaut that has full of acronyms. Once you learn that acronym, oh yeah, that's what they mean, and that's what you're doing for us, I think here.
Yeah.
Very, very, very interesting, and very entertaining to me. Okay, and Ginger thanks you all for being part of this. We've got Dave Stang, he's been watching, RG Jubilee, Carlton
Wow.
Bailey, there's Bert Dick, Tom Celentano, Tom Usiak, Steve Jokums, Elena Adkahara,
Wow.
TJ's watching, Dean Babcock, Gary Gerald, Cliff Watson is in Pomona, Australia, waking up. How's your Wednesday going there, mate?
Good
And
morning there.
yeah, Michael Bruno, thank you for your questions. Mitch Rothman, great supporter of our museum. And Nick Deacons is in the United Kingdom.
Oh, it's
Uh,
late night. It's 10:39.
yeah,
Good night, Nick.
Good night, Nick. Zalaji's watching. That's got to be a friend of yours.
I
X Y
cannot
L.
recognize,
Okay.
but good to see you.
And we just wanted, as we're talking about astronauts, we always love talking about the humans orbiting the Earth, which are 10 of them, including 3 Chinese men. We just had 2 men and a woman come back. on Shenzhou 20. Of course, they're all on the International Space Station or the Chinese Space Station. And we're looking forward to Monday's launch of 4 astronauts to the International Space Station. Then we can change that to 14 humans orbiting the Earth. But 633 humans have orbited the Earth since 1961, 83 of them women. What does that number strike you as just as a young woman doing this research with astronauts? In 61 years, it strikes me as low numbers. All right. We thought there'd be bases on the moon and stuff like that when I was
Yes.
growing up, like in Antarctica. Uh, so does this demonstrate to you that these astronauts have achieved something that's very difficult, or something that is not? I don't know how. To me, it's like it shows it's very difficult.
It is difficult, Mark. Let's tell the truth.
Uh,
Yeah, it
well,
is.
we want to tell the truth.
It is
Absolutely.
definitely hard, and even as a female researcher in this field, I feel challenged as well. You know how it feels. Sometimes one of the possible potential bias in this research might be, I am a female researcher. And try to play a holy receptor role. Try to not give any projection. To have little to none expectation, definitely no expectations at all.
Mm-hmm.
But people still, when they look at me, they think that I may need to hear something, right? They will provide or share something that they think I think it's important or whatever it was. But it's it is what it is.
Well, you
But
know, I hate that for you. I hate that for really.
I
We should have gone beyond
mhm,
sexism and nationalism and things like that.
right.
You
But
know,
you
but
never know.
we haven't. And I guess that's another psychological doctorate degree that you could go for to figure that out,
But
maybe.
yeah, I know. But I also am thinking that, thanks, Mark. But I also think that I have advantage as well, right? I have my advantage point as well, being a female, a vulnerable, and an Asian, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I have my advantage. I don't think Bob Crippen will buy you a drink, but he would buy me.
No, he didn't. He didn't even offer
So
me a drink there.
so
Well, yeah, I don't want to answer those questions
I
there.
definitely appreciate that, and I like
You have
your
one.
question about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So 83, if you ask me, surely I could tell it's little, but you know what? It's not 3, right? It's 83. We are already getting there. We are catching up.
Yeah. Yeah, we are, and as we show Chris Callie's beautiful rendition of Ed White's Spacewalk. Hey, Chris, that's not a photograph; that's a painting. Okay, by our good supporter of the museum, Chris Callie, and this is the day that this happened, 61 years ago, 60 years ago today, and it was a moment like you talk about these moments that are in your talk. This is certainly a moment for all space lovers to know that today, 60 years ago, our first spaceman walked in space, left his spacecraft and come back in. Very dangerous, filled with a lot of unknowns. Yet, was Ed White scared? No, he was exhilarated. He was euphoric over doing this. He had to be called back in. Hey, get back in there. It's been 20 minutes, you know. And his commander, Jim McDivitt, you know, we wanted to get in before it got dark, before they got into the night side, so because they had to close that hatch and secure it and all. So a great way to end, I think, our wonderful conversation here. Uh,
Looks like I timed us very well. I chose the right time.
yeah, we did time. Oh, it's always the right time when we have a
It's
wonderful guest
always the
like
right
you
time.
here.
I like it.
Yeah,
Always the
yeah.
good time. Yeah.
I had my apprehensions about your interview here, because it might be way over my head,
Mm-hmm.
but you made it not so. Okay, you brought it down to a level that I think many of you really appreciate what Ginger Chen is trying to accomplish here. Are there any other any other research like this? Obviously not. And you're the first one to ask these astronauts these questions, right?
I think I am building the niche, Mark.
Yeah.
I think so.
Well, keep doing it. Keep doing it, okay? Because you're really onto something, and I hope that uh, uh, you know 30 years from now you're celebrated in more that you do here, because I think this is important, as I'm sure all of our guests do there.
And I surely hope that at that time, you as the right person, right people, Marty, we can still do this.
We will. That'd be my dream, that in 30 years I could still be interviewing you. I'm dreaming, okay? Unlikely, but I'm
Not a
dreaming.
not a nightmare though.
No, not a nightmare then. Marty, we have anything to clean up over there? I know you enjoyed this probably as much as I did, right?
I certainly did. We'll talk about this after the show.
Yes, and we'll have you back, Ginger, and maybe get into more of the heads of some of the astronauts without revealing who they are. So, well, thank you all for watching. We've got Jay Gatsby. Yes, we know this first spacewalk was done by the Soviet Union. I said the first American to do a spacewalk. And it was a lot better spacewalk than the Russians did, because one, the world knew about it when it happened. Photographs were released immediately, and Russia didn't even want to talk about it till years later, and when Alexei Leonov in there. But thank you, Jay Gatsby, for correcting. It's not a correction. I did not say it was the first spacewalk. So it's the first American to do a spacewalk. And the Russians are filled with a lot of firsts that are like, really? Because they didn't reveal how difficult things were. If they'd have told us how hard this spacewalk was for their Alexei Leonov, then we might have had some more handholds out there in the spacecraft to stabilize Ed White and stuff like that. So, but thank you all for watching. That's important that you're watching us to the end here and enjoying what we have to offer there. So we will keep doing it, Jay. And thank you for joining our little social hour here. Many of our guests, Ginger, consider this, in the 5 years that Marty and I have doing it, as sort of a social gathering without the cocktails, if you will. So thank you so much, young lady. I hope you enjoyed being here as much as I did, and you're welcome back. We'll find something to talk about with Ginger Chen. Anything you'd like to say to our audience?
Actually, I said that the timing, I found the right time. And you said it's always the right time. I hope today is a wonderful, wonderful gathering with you all. Without any of you, I don't think we can make this. I cannot make this. And thanks for having me here. And it's a great honor to be here as the least knowledgeable in space industry. But I just want to conclude. I think that no matter it, no matter where we are, but with the right people, it's always the right thing to do.
Excellent way to end our program today, Ginger Chen. Thank you for becoming a great interview here. Conversation, we call them, not interviews, on the American Space Museum Stay Curious broadcast. And thank you so much. Look forward to seeing more of you. So, Marty, thank you for a great job today. And we love everybody watching today and supporting our humble museum. And until next time, I'm Mark Marquette, and I can't wait to see you again to bridge the space between us.